It is freaking cold. It's day number 4. We are looking at negative 22.2 right now. Still dropping a little bit. It's been up and down for the last couple hours. A couple clicks here and there. The coldest I've seen was 23, and that is the coldest I've ever seen winter camping in my tent. I had the heater on low all night, so it is probably 0 degrees in here. It's about to get a little warmer. I just turned it on medium, and I'm also doing some breakfast, cooking a little breakfast, and started the coffee too. It's gonna warm up in here quite a bit. That definitely changes the plans for today. When things happen, you always have to adjust your plans. Always try to make your situation better. Negative 23 is a little bit dangerous. Add 20-mile-an-hour winds, and it's super, super dangerous. We're talking wind chill. I don't even know how cold, maybe 50, 60 below. I'd have to check the conversion chart, but in those temperatures, your exposure time to that weather is super, super low. So you have to be super careful. You're gonna get frostbite, you could get hurt. The other thing is, if I go far where I want to go togue fishing or I want to go brook trout fishing, that puts me far away from a heat source. That puts me far away from a safe source, which is my tent, and also further from my truck too. So say I get buried in the slush, or say the snowmobile breaks down, or say I get hurt, the situation gets really, really bad. Got to use my brain a little bit. I'm gonna fish from the tent today in this area out here for brook trout. Don't think it's a great area, but how the heck do I know? I thought I was in a great area yesterday and I didn't catch anything. So yeah, I'm gonna fish from the tent today, sip some coffee, and probably read a book in a little bit closer to 30-degree temps inside the tent. Let's get some breakfast in me. She is pretty still out here today. It got so cold last night around 3 in the morning, I woke up to the trees were actually popping and cracking from freezing. So I knew it was at least 20 below at that point. And I looked over and it said 23 below. It's usually like the spruce and the fir trees, the sap inside of them or the water inside of them will actually freeze at that temperature and crack. It's kind of a neat sound to hear those things popping. The ice cracked a couple times last night too, but not too much. And then you don't hear anything for animals or birds or anything like that. When it's this cold, they go into straight survival mode that they've learned from 100,000 years of survival and modifications, so that way they can survive the cold. So like the partridge, when it gets this cold, or rough grouse, whatever you want to call them, wherever you live, they actually go under the snow and use the snow as an insulator to live through these really cold nights. And most things burrow into the ground or the snow when it's this cold. Whew. Frosty and crisp. It ain't warmed up much. We're still looking at 20 below 0, so let's see if the sled's gonna fire up. What do you guys think? I'm thinking I'm gonna have to pull starter, but we'll see. Woo! Yeah. All 5. We're in. Damn, it is cold this morning. Yeah, it's cold. I'm gonna fish from camp today. Oh, there's another tree popping. Still getting colder. So I got all 5 sets in. Probably one in about 2 foot of water, one in 4 foot. The others are all like 6 to 8 foot. All pretty good ranges for brook trout. I only have two small shiners in play, and the other 3 are all pretty big stuff, a lot bigger than most people would use for brook trout, but I'm going for a big one. My bait is not doing well. I gotta bring the bait in, put it near the heater. It's starting to freeze up pretty bad. All right, we're fishing. Fishing from home today. We got a flag, we got a flag, we got a flag. Can't believe it, we got a flag. Woo! Heck yeah. Be the one, baby, be the one. She's wide open. She ain't moving. That doesn't mean anything. That don't mean a thing. Wow, it's already iced up pretty good. Alright. There's pretty much nothing there. There's definitely nothing there other than my bait. He looks like he's been swallowed and spit out. Well, that was exciting. It's a pretty big shiner. Wow, he's chewed right up. Cool. I might have to put a little bit smaller shiner on this one. We'll let that sit for a minute with that chewed up bait. He's still alive, but he ain't doing too well. And maybe I'll switch out to a little bit smaller bait if it doesn't go back up in a little while. I want to show you these tracks that came through this morning. Pretty cool. I just took a quick look at them. We're gonna have to figure them out for ourselves. I thought originally it might have been a fisher cat, like carrying something in its mouth. What it kind of looks like. Huh. Normally, if you see that drag mark in the belly, you think otter, but this is way too small for an otter, even a small otter. And there's quite a few tracks where it's just footprints. So let's take a look. It could be an otter. I guess it could have been a small otter. Hard to say. To me, it looks like maybe a fisher. Let's look at the prints. That would help a lot. Alright, there's one splayed right now. Otter have a pretty good web in their toe. Yeah, it was either a fisher carrying a rabbit, or it could have been a small otter, I guess. If it was an otter, it's one of the smaller ones I've ever seen. All right, I got my bait to thaw out a little bit. I still have a bunch of bait alive. I did lose a handful, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 or so there, and my little air bubbler's right there. I gotta get that back, so I'm gonna have to chop that baby up. That's the guy we need. There it is. All right, guys, it is brutally slow fishing right now for me. The wind is absolutely howling. I'm glad I decided to stay at the home base camp and fish from the shack today. Even though I'm in the lee here, anywhere else I'd go, I'm pretty much smoked. And I'm glad that I made that decision. I don't have a ton of experience on Moosehead Lake, but I do have one story I'd like to share with you. We used to come up as a big group from my town. My community used to have like, I think it was like a dozen guys would go on this ice fishing trip every Martin Luther King weekend. And we'd go to different lakes all around the state. It was really a lot of fun. And we had people maybe in their upper 70s and people in their 20s. So it was a really good mix of people. A lot of blue-collar working men. One year we came to Moosehead. We were staying in Rockwood over by Kineo, and the wind was howling. The very first day, I was the only guy who got out on the ice. And I remember my traps actually blew out of the hole and flew across the ice because it was glare ice. And the only thing that stopped them from ending up in Greenville was the hook caught on the ice. And the reel was still going, and I had to fight it. Oh, it was just a crazy weather trip. It always is on Moosehead. These mountains around the lake up here, they really do make their own weather. But that same trip, I think we got out like the second or third day. We brought a hard shack made out of like aluminum and metal and wood, and we were bringing it out. We were going to fish right under Kineo, like where it would block the wind and everything, and it's just a cool place to fish anyway. One of the elders on the group, Bob Walker, bless his soul, he's not with us anymore, but he was one of the great guys of our community. He was the volunteer fire department chief forever. He was a plumber, electrician, could do anything. Always helped everybody that he could. And just a great all-around guy. Always had just a great sense of humor. His son, Darren, and I went to school together, so Darren and I were always on the trip as well. And Bob, the funny thing was, Bob never, ever left the ice shack. Darren would set all of his traps for him, and he would tend all of his traps for him, and he'd catch all the fish for him too. Bob probably won that fishing derby that we all threw $5 in. Bob probably won that like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and he never left the shack, so it was the funniest thing. But that particular trip, we're going across the lake, and the wind's blowing like 50 probably, and we get over to where we're going to fish, and somebody unhooks the shack, and Bob's still in it, and the wind catches it, and it's just glare ice, and the shack takes off at like 35 miles an hour down the lake with the skis under it. No snow. There's patches of snow here and there, so it could catch and just roll right over. And I remember chasing after him on the snowmobiles. There was like 3 of us chasing after the shack, and there was this little tiny 8x8 window on the door, and Bob couldn't open the door because that's the way the shack was blowing, so he couldn't even open the door and jump out before the thing took a tumble because he would have gotten run over. And all you could see in that window was Bob's face, and his eyes were about like that big as that shack took off. And luckily, somebody with one of the faster sleds got ahead of it and kind of slowed it down and brought it to a stop. But yeah, that's one of my favorite Moosehead Lake memories, and memories of Bob too. We got a flag up. Woo! It's that same flag that was up earlier. I put a smaller bait on there, so hopefully the fish would eat it this time. It is ripping wind out there, so I'm gonna suit up. Let's go get them. Turn down this sandwich that's cooking. Got a hot roast beefer going right now. Let's go catch a brook trout. Not moving. Oh, frick. Wow, something big. Holy crap. Feels big. Oh no, there it is, there it is. Maybe he was just hung up. Feels decent. It's a nice brookie. Look at that brook trout. Let's get him back in the water. Woo! Nice brook trout, boys and girls. Awesome. I think he might be in that slot. Let's get a measurement on him. Can't keep him between 18 and 22. Yep. No, that one's got to go back. It's 20 inches. That's awesome. That's a couple pounder right there. All right, he hasn't been out very long. What we're going to do, we're going to check for the hook real quick. It's deep enough. I'm just going to cut him. Nice. That is the biggest brookie I've ever caught. I'm going to show him to you one more time real quick because I have to pick him up to flip him over. And then we're going to send him back down. That is a pretty fish right there. There he goes. That made it all worth it right there, folks. 20-inch brook trout. Native swimming around. Oh my God, I'm stoked. I am so friggin' stoked right now, guys. Sucks that I got thrown back, but you know what? He's gonna be a giant for somebody else to catch someday. Maybe some kid or somebody new to ice fishing is gonna get a chance at a giant. But that is awesome. 20-incher. My first 20-inch brook trout I've ever caught. I'm stoked. I'm so pumped right now. Thanks for viewing, guys. This day isn't over yet. Maybe we'll get another one. I don't know. But it's getting nasty and windy and ripping out here. Cool. I don't know if you could see, but there's a haze out there. And what that haze is that is the wind ripping. I'm tucked in this corner, the best spot I could possibly be on the lake, but it is friggin' howling. It's still coming around and it's just swirling right now. So I'm gonna get back in the shack and try to warm up a little bit. Guys, I just caught my biggest brook trout ever. I'm so stoked. It has been a brutally hard trip on me. The three things I told you that were gonna be really tough on any of these wilderness camping trips, or winter camping trips, as I should say in this case, because I'm just on Moosehead, are wind, extreme cold, and slush. And guess what? We hit all of them. Got them all. It's blowing like 35 to 40 out there. It was 22 below zero this morning. It is 8 below zero right now. And there's pockets of slush everywhere. It almost ruined my trip and almost lost my snowmobile in it for the year. But through the hard times and the hard work, 2 flags today. The first one took my big bait, chewed on it, and spit it. And I reset that trap after an hour, putting that same bait down with a little smaller bait. And it's been, geez, probably 4 or 5 hours. No flags. I'm really starting to question my ability as a fisherman and the lake. And that flag goes up. So just to give you a heads up, that was in 6 or 7 foot of water. I set the bait about 3 foot down. I like to do that for what I call like a kill zone when you're in that kind of depth of water. So you're not on the bottom because you're not going for bottom feeders, but you're in a zone where they can still find it. It's not right under the surface where they might miss it if they're on the bottom, and they might not swim above it either if you're 3 foot down. And it kind of leaves them out there like a sitting duck. So yeah, that thing ran like, I don't know, 40 yards, got hung up in something. I set the hook and I felt the fish, but then it like kind of stopped, and it wasn't just the fish stopping me. It was around like a rock or something. So I'm super fortunate to have caught that fish, and I'm pumped. I reset it, and the wind's howling even harder now, and I'm back in the shack. Good idea for today. For once, I'm going to pat myself on the back for making the right decision, and hopefully we get another flag, guys. I just went and checked a couple more and dug the ice out of the holes. All right, guys, end of day 4. Another awesome day. Kind of feel like the weather's kind of tying my hands a little bit here. Not being able to just go out wherever I want. 1, I gotta be safe. 2, I gotta be somewhat comfortable in negative 22-degree weather with 30-mile-an-hour winds. It ended up working out pretty darn good because I caught my personal best, biggest brook trout I've ever caught, 20-incher. According to the slot limit on this lake, anything between 18 and 22 has to go right back. So it went right back, which, hey, that fish is gonna, if it keeps growing, it's gonna get really big, which is cool because I'd love to catch 124, 25, 26 inches too. And I like catching 20 inches, to be honest with you. Plan for tomorrow is not solidified yet. I think I want to go catch some lake trout if I can get out there. It's supposed to be windy again, but each day I noticed the wind really didn't start till like 11, and then it just came ripping in each day the last 2 days. So tomorrow's supposed to be a little less wind than today. I have a feeling tonight's gonna get like pretty cold because it's already 3 below 0, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule that we were on last night. So it might get as cold as last night or colder, we'll see. If the weather's decent, I'm gonna take a ride tomorrow morning into some deeper water. I looked around here out in the front of Lily Bay, and I didn't get much deeper than like 35 foot and didn't find any fish at all. I found one little tiny school of yellow perch at like 38 foot, which was the deepest I think I was. So I think I need to get in some deeper water to get a really good togue bite. So I'm gonna head over to Deer Island, maybe Whiskey Island, and see if there's some deeper water off that where there's some decent togue, if I can be mobile. If not, hey, I'll brook trout fish around here again. And then tomorrow night, I think I'm gonna go to town and meet a buddy to fish a remote spot on Saturday, but that's not ironed out yet either, so we'll see what happens. All up in the air. Looking forward to a decent, comfortable night tonight, get a little reading in, and have an awesome day tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you then.